Welcome to Bed Crime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T, and if true crime is your jam and like me, you enjoy delving into unsolved cases, trying to figure out who done it, please consider subscribing. Also, if you enjoy my videos, please hit that like button. Good day, my true crime friends. Hope you're having a great weekend. I was listening to a criminal profiler yesterday breaking down the Summer Wells case. He started out by mentioning the swimming hole and how two people who were there offered up stories that don't match. That led him to the obvious conclusion that at least one of the two was lying. Either H or Candace is lying. And it struck me how vastly different their order of events were for June 15th, 2021, and how far off their time estimations were, with Candace saying she was in the priceless grocery store for maybe 5 minutes, and H saying it was more like an hour. And then we have a store clerk telling JLR that he remembers Candace and Grandis being in the store for about a half hour. As I'm typing this, it's hitting me that if Candace thought something was wrong with Summer at that point, would she have spent even 30 minutes in the store? Would she have even gone to the store? Maybe Summer was, at least on the surface, appearing to be okay at this point. But that's not what I want to talk about in this video. What I wanted to talk about were the profiler's conclusions. He talked about something called encapsulation, which refers to when a person begins abusing substances at a young age, and their mental maturation stops when they begin using drugs. And as long as they continue abusing drugs, their maturation does not progress. So you can be a 57-year-old like Don Wells, but have the maturity level of an 18-year-old. Same for Candace, whose mother told us that she dealt with a meth addiction in the past, and who we can all see suffers from alcoholism and who knows what else. The profiler said that anger tends to be below an addiction issue, and that anger can blow at any time. He also talked about childhood hurt, childhood abuse, and how that can lead to the anger that can then lead to substance abuse. It's like an equation where abuse in childhood leads to anger, leads to substance abuse. The profiler also stated that substance abuse is the #1 cause of child abuse. So this creates a generational circle of passing the baton onto one's children in a sense. If you were abused, it might lead you to anger, which may lead you to substance abuse, and those substances may put you at a greater risk of harming your own kids and starting that cycle anew. Note that child abuse is defined as any mistreatment or neglect that causes harm to a child 18 years old or younger. It can include sexual, emotional, and physical abuse, as well as neglect. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC, at least 1 in 7 children in the United States experiences some form of abuse or neglect each year, and that number is likely much higher because so much of this goes unreported. So that tells me that there are a lot of Summer Wells out there across this country. Note that neglect occurs when a caretaker fails to meet a child's basic physical and emotional needs. These needs include housing, food, clothing, education, medical care, dental care, and supervision. We can see that Summer often appeared dirty and disheveled in photos, and one of her front teeth appeared to be rotting. H told Chris McDonough this about Candace when she was home, drunk, and high.
Can you explain how she does when she gets drunk? She tends to, but she gets drunk and high at the same time.
Yep.
She tends to think that she loses the kids, but they're out front in the yard. That's what I was thinking.
Got it. So this is something that's happened in the past?
No, well, she hasn't went missing. It's just that she got high and drunk and forgot that someone was outside.
Got it. Straight up. What did she tell you?
She was like, someone's missing. So I was just like, okay.
All of this spells neglect, neglect, neglect. Candace Bly also gave up her first 2 children to the system before Summer disappeared. According to this profiler, he believes the Summer Wells case has everything to do with substance abuse, leading to child abuse. The boogeyman in this case is not some stranger finding his or her way up the difficult terrain to 110 Ben Hill Road and snatching Summer. The boogeyman is addiction, which led to child abuse. So I was curious about the factors that can increase a person's risk for abusing children. Here are the risk factors that I found on the healthline.com website. The first risk factor is a history of child abuse or neglect during their own childhood. Think about Don Wells and Candace Bly. By all accounts, Don was abused by his stepfather. And with Candace, we know that her mother, Candy Harr, abandoned her and her sisters when they were young preteens and teens, a critical time in any young person's development, a time when loving caretakers are definitely needed. We also know that Candace's father, as a single parent, ended up putting her in foster care when he found her too rebellious and difficult to handle. Candace appears to harbor a deep resentment over her father's actions. She often claims that he's not her bio dad, and she did not attend his funeral in 2021, just a month before Summer vanished. The second risk factor for becoming a child abuser is having a substance use disorder. Grandis has said that Candace was addicted to meth at one time, and we can see that Candace currently is suffering from alcohol abuse, and who knows what else. It's been said that her drug tests after Summer went missing came back dirty. I'm not sure if that's true, but it is what Chris McDonough of the Interview Room has said. The third risk factor is poor parent-child relationships. I think we can see that Candace has struggled at times with her relationships with both her father and her mother. The fourth risk factor is socioeconomic stress. Clearly, Candace was at the mercy of Don for money. She had to call him and beg him for cash when he left 110 Ben Hill Road with the eldest son and went to Utah for an extended period. Even though Candace spent money on vapes and twisted teas, I don't think she had access to unlimited funds. The fifth factor is a lack of parenting skills. I would say it's fairly obvious that Candace and Don both lacked parenting skills. They both appear much less mature than their actual years, likely due to that encapsulation issue we talked about. I know Candace took her kids to swimming holes and on trips to Gatlinburg, but that cannot make up for a dismal home life where the parents get wasted starting around 5 p.m. every day, where strangers are brought into the home suddenly to live, where the dad disappears for days, sometimes weeks at a time without explanation. The sixth risk factor for a parent becoming abusive is a lack of support from family. It doesn't appear that Candace has that much help from her family in raising her kids. I know Grandis was there from time to time, but she doesn't come across as warm and fuzzy, and her visits were sporadic, and she herself seems to have issues with money and even allegedly substance abuse issues. I've heard through the grapevine that Grandis is a bit of a pill popper, allegedly. I don't have proof of this, so I'm just repeating hearsay. Take that bit with a grain of salt. The seventh risk factor is having to care for a child with intellectual or physical disabilities. We've heard from some people that Summer was mostly nonverbal. We've also heard from at least one physician that Summer displayed facial features indicative of fetal alcohol syndrome. Is it possible that Candace was stressed out by having to raise 4 children, at least one of whom may have had developmental issues? Any mother would find this challenging, but factor in poverty, isolation, a lack of help from family, an inability to make money on one's own and to have agency over one's own life, and I would say it makes for a lot of despair and stress. The eighth risk factor is family stress and crises caused by DV and relationship turmoil. We know Candace is a victim of DV from her request for an order of protection against Dawn Wells. We've also heard rumors that Dawn went off with other women, and Candace has said that he even brought one woman home to 110 Ben Hill Road, where he wooed her upstairs while Candace was downstairs. The Wells household was full of strife between Candace and Dawn. Candace Bly suffers from all 8 of these risk factors. So it's no doubt that she's been said to have abused her kids, and it's no wonder the Department of Children's Services, or DCS, eventually removed the Wells boys from the home. I think the profiler has it right when he says that addiction issues are at the root of the Wells troubles and at the root of Summer's disappearance. So does that mean that Summer is gone because Candace failed to adequately supervise Summer that June day? Or does it mean that a drug deal gone bad, like maybe Dawn and Candace couldn't pay their drug debts, could have led to Summer's demise? We don't know, but I would bet that if and when we get answers, drugs will have played a significant role in Summer's disappearance. What do you guys think? Does this seem like a logical conclusion? Do you think substance abuse played a role in whatever happened to Summer? Let me know in the comments. Until the next time on Bedcrime Stories. Now please leave me a comment, hit that like button, subscribe, and if you want to support my channel, you can now do so in the comments.